ShadowKiss, Chapter 3. Why so glum, little vampire? I was heading across the court towards the comments when I detected the scent of clove cigarettes. I signed, Adrian, you're the last person I want to see right now. Adrian Ashok hurried up beside me, blowing a cloud of smoke into the air that, of course, drifted right towards me. I waved it off and made a great show of exaggerated cough. Adrian was a royal Morai we could acquire on our recent sky trip. He was a few years older than me and had come back to St. Valdemic's work on a learning spree with Lisa. So far, he was the only other spirit user we knew of. He was arrogant and spoiled and spent a lot of his time including in cigarettes, alcohol, and women. He also had a crush on me, or at least wanted to get me into bed. Apparently, he said, I have hardly seen you at all since we got back. If I don't know better, I could say you were avoiding me. I'm avoiding you. He exhaled loudly and racked a hand through the sleek brown hair he always kept stylishly messy. Look, Rose, you don't have to keep up with the hard to get thing. You have already got me. I didn't know perfectly well I was not playing hard to get, but he always took a particular delight in teasing me. I'm really not in the mood for you, so called sham today. What happened then? You're stomping through every puddle you can find and look like you're going to punch the first person you see. Why are you hanging around then? Or not you worried about getting hit? Ah, you could never hurt me. My face is too pretty. Not pretty enough to make up the gross carbonic smoke blow in my face. How can you do that? Smoking not allowed on campus. Abby Badica got 2 weeks detention when she got caught. I'm above the rules, Rose. I am neither student nor staff, merely a free spirit wandering your fat school as I will. Maybe you should go do some wandering now. You want to get rid of me? You tell me what's going on. There was a no avoiding it. Besides, he could know soon enough. Everyone could know. I got assigned to Christian for my field experience. There was a pause, and the Adrian burst out laughing. Wow, now I understand in the light of that. You actually seems remarkably calm. I was supposed to have Lisa, I growled. I cannot believe they did this to me. Why did they do it? Is there some chance you might not be with her when you graduate? No, they just all seems to think this is going to help me train better now. Driven and I will still be her real guardians later. Arden gave a sidelong glance. Oh, I'm sure that will be quite the hardship for you. I had to be one of the weirdest thing in the universe that Lisa had never come close to suspecting my feelings for Dremet, but that Adrian had figured it out. Like I said, your commentary is not appreciated today. He apparently don't agree. I had a suspicion feeling he could be drinking already, and it was barely even lunchtime. What's the problem? Christian will be with Lisa all the time anyway. Adrian had a point. Not that I could have admitted it. Then, in the short attention span way of his, he switched subject just as we neared the building. Have I mentioned your Arura to you? He asked her suddenly. There was a strange note in his voice, hesitant, curious. It was very uncharacteristic. Everything he usually said was smoking. I don't know. Yeah, once. You said it was dark or something. Why? Auroras were fields of light that surrounded every person. Their colors and brightness were linked to a person's personality and energy. Only spirit users could see them. Adrian had been doing it for a long as he could remember, but Lisa was still learning. Hard to explain. Maybe it's nothing. He came to a stop near the door and inhaled deeply on a cigarette. He went out of his way to blow a cloud of smoke away from me, but the wind carried it back. Auroras are strange. They ebb and flow, change colors and brightness. Some are vivid, some are pale. Every once in a while, someone's will settle and burn with such a pure color that you can. He tipped his head back, starting into the sky. I recognized the sign of the weird, unhinged state he sometimes fell into. You can instantly grasp what it means. It is like seeing into their soul. I smiled. But you have not figured mine out, huh? Or what any of these colors means? He judged. I'm figuring it out. You talk to enough people, get a feel for what they all like, and then start to see the same kinds of people with the same kinds of colors. After a while, the colors start to mean something. What does mine look like right now? He glanced over at me. Yeah, I cannot quite get a fix on it today. I know it, you have been drinking. Substance like alcohol or certain meditation number numb spritz effects. Just enough to chase the chill away. I can guess what your Aduras like though. It is usually like the others, sort of those swirling colors. It is just kind of etched in darkness. Like you have always got a shadow following you. Something in his voice made me shiver, although I could hear them and Lisa talk about Auroras a lot. I could never really thought of them as anything I needed to worry about. That was more like some kind of stage trick, a cool thing with little substance. That is so cheerful, I said. You ever think about motivational speaking? His scattered look faded and his normal breath returned it. Don't worry, little vampire. You might be surrounded by clouds, but you will always be like sunshine to me. I rolled my eyes. He dropped the cigarette onto the sidewalk and put it out with his foot. Got to go. See you later. He swept me a gallant blow and started walking away towards guest housing. You just alliterated. I yelled. Above the rules, Rose, he called back. Above the rules. Shaking my head, I picked up the now cold cigarette butt and took it in a garbage can that was outside the building. When I entered the warmth inside was a welcome change as I shook off the slush on my boots. Down in the cafeteria, I found lunch wrapping up for the afternoon. Here, Dampier sat side by side with the Moray, providing a study in contrast. Dampiers with our half human blood were bigger, though not taller, and more solidity built. The girl non-boys were curvier than the ultra slim Moray girls. The boy non-boys is far more muscular than their vampires counterparts. The Moray complexions were pale and delicate like a procline, while ours were tanned from being outside in the sun so much. Lisa sat at the table by herself, looking tense and angelic in a white sweater. Her pale, blonde hair cascaded over her shoulders. She glanced up at my approach, and welcoming feelings flowed to me through our bond. She grinned. Oh, look at your face. Is it true? Is not it? You really are resigned to Christian? I'm glad. Could it kill you to be a little less miserable? She gave me a censuring yet amused look as she licked the last chip of her strawberry yogurt off her spoon. I mean, he's my boyfriend after all. I hang out with him all the time. It is not that bad. You have the patience of a saint. I grumbled, slouching into a chair. And besides, you don't hang out with him 24 by 7. Neither you will. It is only 24 by 6. Same difference. It might be as well be 24 by 10. She frowned. That does not make any sense. I waved off my idiotic remark and started blankly around the lunchroom. The room was buzzing with the news of the impending field experience, which could kick off as soon as lunch ended. Camilla's best friend had gotten assigned to Rian's best friend. and the four of them huddled there gleefully together, looking as though they were about to embark on a 6 week double date. At least someone could enjoy all of this. I signed. Christian, my soon to be charge, was off with the feeders, humans who willingly donated blood to Moray. Through our bond, I sensed Lisa wanting to tell me something. She was holding up because she was worried about my bad mood and wanted to make sure I got enough support. I smiled. Stop worrying about me. What's up? She smiled back, her pink glossed lips hiding her fangs. I got permission. Permission for? The answer fitted from her mind faster than she could have voiced it. What? I exclaimed. You're going to stop your meds? Spirit was an amazing power, one whose cool abilities we were just starting to figure out. It had a very nasty side effect, however. It could lead to the depression and insanity. Part of the reason Arden indulged in drinking so much, aside from his party nature, was to numb himself against these side effects. Lisa had much healthier way of holding it. She took antidepressants, which completely cut her off from the magic altogether. She hated not being able to work with the spirits anymore, but that was an acceptable trade off for not going crazy. Well, I thought it was. She apparently disagreed if she was considering his incense experiment. I know she could be wanting to try the magic again, but I had not really thought she could go through with it or that anyone could let her. I have to check in with Miss Camcat every day and regularly talk to a counselor. Lisa made a face at his last part, but her overall feelings was still quite upbeat. I cannot wait to see what I can do with Adrian. Adrian is a bad influence. He don't make me do this, Rose. I choose it. When I don't answer, she slightly touched my arm. Hey, listen, don't worry. I have been so much better, and lots of people are going to have my back. Everyone except me. I told her wistfully. Across the room, Christian entered through a set of double doors and approached us. The clock read 5 minutes until the end of the lunch. Oh man, the zero hour is almost here. Christian pulled up a chair at our table and flipped it backwards, letting his chin rest on its slatted back. He brushed his back hair away from his blue eyes and gave us a smug smile. I felt Lisa's heart lighten at his presence. I cannot wait until this show gets on the road, he said. You and me are going to have so much fun, Rose. Picking out curtains, doing each other's hair, telling ghost stories. The reference to the ghost stories hit a little closer to home than I was comfortable with. Not that choosing curtains or brushing Christian's hair was much more appealing. I shook my head in expression and stood up. I will leave you two alone for your last few private moments. They laughed. I walked over to the lunch line, hoping to find some leftover donuts from breakfast. So far, I could see croissants, squishy, and poached pears. It must have been highbrow day at the cafeteria. Was deep-fried duff really too much to ask for? Eddie stood in front of me. His face turned apologetic as soon as he saw me. Rose, I'm really sorry. I put up a hand to stop him. Don't worry, it's not your fault. Just promise me you will do a good job protecting her. It was a silly sentiment since she was in no real danger, but I could never really stop worrying about her, particularly in light of this new development with her meditation. Eid stayed serious, apparently not thinking my request as silly at all. He was one of the few who know about Lisa's abilities and their downsides, which was probably why he could be selected to guard her. I won't let anything happen to her, I mean it. I could not help a smile, in spite of my glum mood. His experiences with the streetcar made me take all of his more seriously than almost any other non-voice. Aside from me, he was probably the best choice to guard her. Rose, it is true you punched Guardian Petro? I turned and looked into the face of two Morai, Jess looks and half Rolf Scarozzi. They could just stepped in line behind Ethan me and looked more self-satisfied and annoying than usual. Jess was all bronzed good looks and quick thinking. Rolf was his slightly less attractive and slightly less intelligent sidekick. They were quite possible the two people I hated most in the school, mainly due to some nasty rumors they could spread about me doing some very explicit things with them. It was Manson's strong arming that had forced them to tell me the truth to the school, and I don't think they could ever forgiven me for that. Punch, Alberta? Hardly. I started to turn around, but Raf kept talking. We heard you throw a big hissy fight in the gym when you found out who you're with. Hissy fight? What are you, 60? All I did was I passed and carefully chose my words. Register my opinion. Well, said Jess, I suppose if anyone's going to keep an eye on that Strigoi vulnerable, it might as well be you. You're the biggest badass around here. The grudging tone in his voice made it sound like he was complimenting me. I don't see it that way at all. Before he could utter another word, I was standing right in front of him with barely any space between us. In what I consider a true sign of discipline, I don't put my hand around his throat. His eyes widened in surprise. Christian has nothing to do with any strigoi, I said in a low voice. His parents? Or his parents and he is Christian. Don't confuse them. Jess had been on the wrong side of my anger before. He was clearly remembering that, and his fear warned his desire to trash talk Christian in front of me. Surprisingly, the later won out. Earlier, you have attacked like being with him was the end of the world, and now you're defending him? You know how he is? He breaks rules all the time. Are you saying you seriously don't believe there is any chance at all he might turn Strigoi like his parents? None, I said. Absolutely none. Christian is more willing to take a stand against Strigoi than probably any other Mora here. Jesus flickered curiously towards Ruff before returning to me. He even helped me fight against those ones in Spokane. There is no chance of him ever turning Strigoi. I racked my brain trying to recall who had been assigned to Jess for the field experience. And if I hear you spreading that crap around, Dean is not going to be able to save you from me. Or me, added Eth, who had come to stand right beside me. Jess swallowed and took a step back. You're such a liar. You cannot lay a hand on me. If you get suspended now, you will never graduate. He was right, of course, but I smiled anyway. Might be worth it. We will have to see, huh? It was at the point that Jess and Ruff decided they don't want anything from the lunch line after all. They stalked off, and I heard something that sounded suspiciously like crazy bitch. Jerks, I muttered. Then I brightened. Oh, hey, donuts! I got a chocolate glazed and then Eid, and I hurried off to find one more right to get to class. He grinned at me. If I don't know any better, I could say you just defended Christian's honor. Is not he a pain in the ass? Yes, I said, licking icing off my fingers. He is, but for the next 6 weeks, he is my pain in the ass.